Hello, it is Tuesday, May 30th, 2023 at 8:54 a.m. Eastern Time, USA. I'm Mitch Miller. This is my video journal. And a couple updates. When I was leaving Pittsburgh on last Wednesday, the check engine light came on the Ford Explorer, the 2000 Ford Explorer I'm driving. It seemed to run fine the rest of the time, up until yesterday when it cut out a little bit when the air conditioner was on. I shut the air conditioner off and it ran the rest of the way out to Utica. I drove it back and forth from Conneaut to Utica a couple times. So it made me think about replacing these sensors for the brakes and keeping this thing on the road running. I'm thinking about writing to the Ford Motor Company and saying, look, I've reached out to a bunch of Pennsylvania lawmakers about the dangers of autonomous and semi-autonomous features in vehicles, and when they start to deteriorate, what's going to happen. As a way to protect your motor company, I would suggest a program where you keep popular vehicles like the Ford Explorer, the 2000 Ford Explorer, high-selling vehicles, at least one of them running as long as possible, to see what will happen when the computer in the vehicle does start to malfunction, right? So may I propose my 2000 Ford Explorer, you allot a certain amount of money that I can go to a Ford dealership, keep it running to the best of its ability, replace the sensors, pay for that maintenance, pay for those parts, and keep it going. It was a Virginia vehicle, not a lot of rust. It's been oiled every year. Let's keep it running for another 10 years and see what happens when this computer starts to malfunction. It's a program so that when your modern vehicles start malfunctioning, you can say we did start a program to see what was going to happen by paying vehicle owners to keep their vehicles operational into as long as possible until we run out of parts, basically. So that's something I'm thinking about writing to Ford. Might do that this week. And speaking of vehicles, I don't know if I brought up Greg Hatfield and Josh Hatfield, Herb Hatfield, who witnessed the nuclear weapon. His son and grandson were in a truck accident. Lady pulled out in front of Greg, who was driving. He hit her with the truck, rear-ended her. Pretty bad accident. Greg had a broken back, broken arm, and broken leg. Josh, I think, was in the vehicle. He was in the passenger side, and he was fine. Something I found out, Josh was getting his pictures with his grandmother next door because he had his high school graduation last week. And after he left, Dolly disclosed more information about Josh. He was in Children's Hospital at a young age. He had some heart issues, and they didn't think he was going to walk or be an active person. And he's overcome those odds and has played sports for Central Catholic, so on and so forth. So he has a medical history probably in 2006, I'm thinking, if he's 18 now, at the Children's Hospital, and that computer system, he was input and had a lengthy stay there. So this could be a case of the powers that be, or children having psychic abilities because of all the Wi-Fi. Now it's time for his father to have an extensive record in a hospital system, because we're real people and we're protecting these computer systems in these hospital systems, which is why I think it's important to input me and my wife in some European hospital computer systems. But yeah, that's one of my theories, is that because Josh early in his life had an extensive record in computer systems in a hospital system, that now his father has many x-rays, many checkup appointments, a lot of documentation, and a newer computer system. To protect these computer systems, validate them, and make sure they're operating to help people heal and not to test pharmaceuticals and medical devices and things like that, which is a danger when you have the pharmaceutical companies administering and running all of that technology, all the software, which I've warned about extensively. Alright, moving on to that, so I have the European trip coming up June 10th. I'm going to be on a boat. I've proposed Operation Oligarch, where we're on Russian oligarchs' ships, creating a technology company designed to cut corruption out of every process in society. So I want to take this time to talk about an aspect of the Consultant novel, the novel about Trump getting a second term. And I know I haven't talked about anything out of that book for a while. So I realize that if I'm on a Russian oligarch ship, we're going to burn $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 a day in fuel, right? And I'm an environmentalist, so I don't really want to do that. No, I don't necessarily want to do that. And that's why if we do continue doing this with other ships, we really just need to make that outline around Europe once in the ship, burn the fuel to do that. Then we're good for 15 months. The internment I've had in my life, we're good for 15 months. The supercomputers are going to cross-reference different passports coming in through that border that I've created to see who's being shady in the business world and the political world. There's a lot of corruption going on in Europe right now in the government. From then on, for the next 15 months, so what is that, five ships, hypothetically, I can just go to those ships and we can operate in the port where they're located and not have to burn fuel driving around, gallivanting around the world trying to end these wars, right? My theory is moving the ship around Europe to Norway. That act of moving that equipment around will allow other equipment to calibrate off of it and will end the war between Ukraine and Russia. And that's a theory that we can test, and then if it doesn't work, obviously we won't run any of those other former Russian military pieces of equipment around, and we'll stay in port, move the equipment on that we need to start the technology company, so on and so forth. The USB of this video journal will of course go into one of the televisions on the yacht, but the rest will be so it's a way of disseminating this information to, and that's another reason why we might get peace in a lot more places, because we're opening it up more so to the European sector to disseminate the information. Anyhow, I want to talk about these characters in my novel. So you have the Mitch Miller character, me, that it was mayor, may or may not have been mayor, that's in a mental hospital and is a consultant throughout the book. But we follow the path of these three researchers on a boat in the Mississippi, right? And the name, it's a man and two women. They're a throuple, a three-way couple, or whatever you call that. They're researchers living in close quarters on a ship, and they also enjoy each other's company in other ways. It's a mutual agreement. The name I came up with for the man is James Milliot. So it's kind of like a scenario I would like to be in, and probably a lot of men would like to be in, if I didn't take the political course of action. Don't ask me to come up with names for the two females. James researches, he's a researcher that you find out researched food in prisons and mental institutions and found a connection between the food in those institutions and higher incidences of cancer and other ailments. And that was his first research project. He was granted access to research this. Now he's got a new research project. He's got these two other researchers. One is like a marine biologist, obviously on the Mississippi, and the other is kind of a technology, green energy researcher. And you find out what they're doing in the Mississippi by the end of the book. But they're on this state-of-the-art research ship that they commissioned, and they kept most of the patents on, and that's why, I go into these details about different ideas I have. So the ideas for this ship, and I'd like to lock in the patents of this, and I'll explain how. But the ship is and I know they're making electric boats now. It's an electric ship with battery, everything. It has a retractable keel fin, the fin that goes down out of the bottom of the ship. It telescopes up and down. It can telescope down in river situations and actually anchor the vessel. And there's a mast. It's like a 50 or 60 foot boat. There's a mast that goes up that can run a sail. That's why you have the keel fin, in case you turn it into a sailing mode. It has a state-of-the-art computer system on it, artificial intelligence. And I saw this back when I was in jail in Allegheny County Jail back in 2010. They were building these mega yachts that have automatic sail mechanisms so that a very small crew can manage a sailing yacht, right? And that was 13 years ago. So we have the technology for just the person that owns the ship, the captain, to run a sailing rig or a very small crew, right? So it can sail on the open water. It has a semi-powerful battery-powered electric motor. It can charge this motor so the boat can anchor, and there's a fold-out windmill. And I know a lot of ships in a port use windmills to charge their onboard batteries. This has a windmill that uses AI sensors and stuff to find the best wind direction to charge the batteries on the ship. So if it's anchored, it can use a windmill. It also has around the gunnels, or the top rail of the ship, it has solar panels, right? And they conform to the curves of the ship. It has solar panels that have a little hinge and an electric motor, all operated by artificial intelligence or some kind of very intelligent computer that uses sensors. And these solar panels retract down and are the streamline of the ship. It's the body of the ship. They're recessed in. And when they're in that mode, like when the ship is underway, they receive sun rays, solar rays from the reflecting off of the water. So they're kind of pointed down because the ship goes like this and they're pointed down. Then when it's anchored or just, not underway to a high degree or not a high wind day, they pivot out using the sensors all around the ship. They come out like wings the whole way around the ship, and each one, it's maybe a 1 or 2 foot section or 3 foot section. Each one can adjust to different angles to catch the sun the best, in the best way. That charges the batteries, allows the ship to continue to be underway of the electric motor. So the most obvious thing is the solar panel situation, and if we adopt this cemetery robot type of thing, at least if we get people to sign up to have a rounded casket with a solar panel on one section of it that could be used in a cemetery way, say like Arlington Cemetery, something like that, could be a military project. We developed the technology to have concave solar panels, right? And we perfect it. And that can be used to form the curves of the ship. We patent that technology. That way if people commission electric boats, we'll have the patents to deliver this technology very cheaply. But here's the thing, if you can't even ensure a house has a security system that's unhackable, which I want to work on here at this house with the outbuilding we're going to possibly redo soon, refinance the house to build a new garage, then a ship could be hackable in the same way, and it could take over the power, so we would design it so that in order to power the ship to move it, that would be disconnected from the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence would just run the sails up and tell the best direction for the ship to go, to catch the best wind, so on and so forth. Now, as I said with the car club, where these cars are located at airports, electric cars, you fly in, you get the car, it gets detailed, so on and so forth. The same thing can be said for these ships, right? We could design these ships, and there's a small one, a 30 or 35 foot or whatever, just designed for one or a couple to live on and have a couple guests. Maybe a 40 foot design, and we just have these two designs. 40 foot would be more for research, maybe multiple, 3, 4, or 5 people to be on it. Maybe a captain that can run the whole ship and a group of 4 to live on. Anyhow, we designed these ships, and I have big plans for the infrastructure of the United States and how this could be an alternative retirement plan to buying an RV and traveling the country, right? So the military personnel out there, maybe part of your retirement plan might be seeing the inner United States by your own ship and being able to go along the coast of the United States on your own ship. I know in Europe they're developing automated slip reservation systems where you can just get on an app, You can reserve a slip at a destination, so it's getting easier to have a ship and be able to just roll into a different port, dock, and enjoy that city. So that's how I would like to travel. If I were traveling by ship in a totally green, sustainable energy run, electric powered and sail powered ship. Alright, that's my obvious choice. And maybe it wasn't obvious to people. You think I just want to steal a Russian oligarch ship and burn a bunch of fuel. That's not me. That's not what I want. I just working off of what I'm feeding off of as far as supercomputers and this war front in Ukraine, where we're tiptoeing into the future of warfare, not the future I choose, which is pistol duels and wrestling matches. And that's why I propose this, about the future of robotic warfare, because they're both modern. A European entity versus a Russian entity. You know, it's not the Central Intelligence Agency dropping off a bunch of rocket launchers and machine guns to some African nation. This is major countries pouring their resources into this battle. So we're entering the phase where we're gonna have automated battlefields, and we're developing artificial intelligence. And because there's only a few companies that manage the internet, this artificial intelligence could run rampant on their systems, and who knows what happens, right? And so I watched a forum with the 6 heads of the military branches over the holiday weekend. It was on C-SPAN. Watched them talk about different issues. They talked about AI and how it helps inform decisions, because there's so much information gathered now. They also mentioned that it takes 2 years to get on a budget. Right, so my proposals, my startups, maybe they will get on a budget in another year and a half or 2 years. But I propose ways that military personnel can fund me independently, give me $230 a day into my bank account, or buy a novel for 99 cents, so they don't have to wait for, I mean, that might be their excuse, is we're trying to get them on the budget in 2 years to build bomb sniffing robots and now eco-friendly research vessels, right? But they could act swiftly and boldly today, tomorrow, to get me the funds I need to try to take the civilian independent route to securing these patents and these designs and rolling that out, instead of being a military, and then in 2 years, if I'm on a budget, pursuing the military contractor route of securing these patents and seeing how that process works. Anyway, again, I do hope Operation Oligarch is going to come to fruition. I realize we burn a lot of fossil fuels for that project, but so do a lot of military vehicles out there. And we have to work with the equipment we have now to establish a neutral vessel to end this war, and to have the forums and discussions about the future of warfare with robots and artificial intelligence. It's important. So again, these military leaders did a forum to talk about a little bit, and that's good. I think it would be interesting to get other intelligence and military professionals to talk more about some of the questions, I have about moving forward with this. And then again, we're working remotely from a ship to establish a technology company that can secure all these designs and patents, but will locate our physical computing technology in Ukraine if that's approved by the Ukrainian parliament to start a technology startup in a war area, to see how we can build this company up in Europe, and then franchise it out to other countries that want to have anti-corruption and social media that makes sense. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll probably do one tomorrow. I don't know, I thought of some stuff to talk about, so I'm sure it'll come back to me tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and join me next time.